It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Tuesday, August 19th. I'm Wendy Kaur, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, brought to you by the Converse County Tourism Promotion Board. Discover Douglas and Glen Rock in beautiful Wyoming, where rich history, outdoor adventure, and welcoming communities await. Feel the energy of Converse County at www.conversecountytourism.com. With the Red Canyon fire burning about 11 miles east of Thermopolis, passing 100,000 acres in size, Governor Mark Gordon has declared a fire emergency. Even as crews report, it is 28% contained. Cowboy State Daily's Jackie Dorothy spoke to generational ranchers in the path of the fire who are working together to save their homes and cattle.
Ranchers here are frustrated because this is a fast-moving fire. They're seeing these flames leap over 60 feet swaths of land that they had torn up and hoped to hold back the fire, and it's just not holding it back. We have the perfect temperature for a hot fire. You got high winds, hot temperature, and dry fuel. It's definitely a dangerous mix, and it's scary to see it. The terrain that this fire is in, it is a lot of ravines, a lot of crevices. Once the fire gets into those areas, it's nearly impossible to put out until Mother Nature interferes and gives us snow or rain.
The planes and helicopters have made a dramatic difference in fighting back the flames, and the ranchers have been grateful to see them arrive and grow. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson reports that there are now 425 personnel working the Red Canyon fire.
They brought in what they call a complex team. That's a higher level team to manage the firefighting operations than was there before. And it comes with more people. It comes with more resources. There's a lot of aerial attacks. They're not trying to put out the fire with these things. They're dropping them around the fire to make these lines, these breaks, so that when or if the fire gets to this point, it's stopped.
Also burning in Wyoming's Bighorn Basin is the Sleeper Ranch fire northeast of Meeteetse, which has burned over 20,000 acres and is now 40% contained, and the Spring Creek fire about 10 miles southeast of Ten Sleep, which has burned over 3,500 acres and is 24% contained. Authorities in Campbell County had to drop attempted murder charges against 3 Mexican nationals when their alleged victim vanished. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Adrian Gonzalez Oviedo, Aiden Oviedo Rivera, and Juan Gonzalez Rendon were accused of beating their roommate and dumping him in a desolate and freezing stretch of Campbell County with no shoes or shirt in November of last year.
The victim's sort of a key in the case because they based at least a lot of their probable cause on his interview after they found him shoeless and cold in November and beaten. And so if they were going to go to trial, and they had one trial scheduled for July and 2 more scheduled for August, they were going to need him, according to these documents by the county attorney, and they couldn't find him.
The sheriff's office notified ICE that it was releasing the 3 defendants, and ICE picked up each of the 3 men within 2 days. The Wyoming man who earned the nation's highest civilian award for heroism for rescuing a mother and son from their burning home in 2022 is now battling back from a devastating crash with a semi-trailer on I-80 that nearly killed him earlier this month. 35-year-old Ryan Pasborg of Green River, who received the Carnegie Medal for heroism from Governor Mark Gordon last year, was nearly killed when his Nissan Titan crashed into a semi-trailer stopped in the middle of the interstate. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck reports that Pasborg was recently released from the University of Utah Hospital after being airlifted there August 4th.
He was driving down Interstate 80, he said about midnight on August 4th or a little after, and there was a semi, he said, parked in the middle of the interstate without lights or cones or anything. So he hit the back of this flatbed semi at about 80 miles an hour. He spent much of August in Utah Hospital, and he started his own business about a year ago. So he has no insurance, and he is just needing some help right now.
The crash left him with a broken sternum, bleeding on the brain, a punctured lung, broken ribs, a broken femur, and mangled left hand. He also underwent surgery on his spleen due to blood loss. I'll be back with more news right after this.
First Northern Bank of Wyoming has been a pillar and a cornerstone in our community since 1885.
It's the oldest continuing operating bank in existence in Wyoming today.
I see First Northern Bank make a positive difference in our community.
They're always in the list of sponsors.
our people deliver the absolute best service that you can find.
Well, these might be the dog days of summer, but Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day has compiled enough information and confidence to put out his extended forecast for the upcoming 2025-26 winter season. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi spoke to the state's most trusted weatherman, and if Day is right, brace yourself and bundle up now. According to his forecast, Wyoming's winter will come early, stick around longer, and bring plenty of snow and cold with it.
He thinks that it's going to be a colder and snowier winter, not just over last winter, but snowier and colder overall for the last 30-year average for Wyoming winters. It doesn't mean persistent cold. We're not going to see those long stretches of extreme negative temperatures, but we're going to go from extreme cold to warmer days. And that might sound annoying, but what that means is storms are moving. And if there's movement in the atmosphere, that means more precipitation, which means more snow.
While there's still plenty of uncertainty about what will unfold in the coming months, Day said he's around 70% confident in his analysis of how current oceanic conditions, historical data, and long-range weather modeling will manifest over Wyoming between October of 2025 and February of 2026. A trailer fire in which a 43-year-old woman was found dead Friday north of Riverton remains under investigation. 5 Riverton Volunteer Fire Department units and 16 firefighters responded just after 8 p.m. Friday to the trailer home that was fully engulfed in flames. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that so far there are no indications of suspicious happenings in the fire, although authorities say it's too early to make a definitive statement.
It's too early to say whether everything's benign, but it's also too early to call anything suspicious. But, Fremont County news reporters especially, we are taught that you don't assume the person died of the fire, just that they were dead in the fire. And that's because of a very famous double homicide case from 2011 where people were found dead in the fire and it turned out they were stabbed to death. Not saying that's what happened here, but when you talk to officials about fatalities and fires in Fremont County, there's that extra layer of caution.
No one else was found dead or injured in the blaze, according to the Riverton Volunteer Fire Department chief. The state fire marshal's office is investigating the origin and cause of the fire. Republicans have a history of painting Democrats as soft on crime, and Democrats could be vulnerable to that label in the midterm elections if they oppose President Donald Trump's bid to extend the takeover of the D.C. police force beyond 30 days, an extension that requires congressional approval. Cowboy State Daily's Sean Berry reports that as Trump plans to expand his law enforcement crackdowns into other blue cities, something he announced last week, Wyoming's Republican congressional delegation is seizing the moment.
The Wyoming congressional delegation is very supportive of President Donald Trump's takeover of the metropolitan Washington, D.C. police force. What's interesting is that on the other side of the aisle, nobody is supportive of this. If the Democrats do not support extending this, the Republicans can use it as fodder for labeling them soft on crime. This is going to be a really big issue because Washington has a very high crime rate. It has fallen in recent years, but it's still very high. In fact, we have the 5th highest homicide rate in the country.
A vote on whether to allow Trump's extension of the takeover is likely to be one of the first orders of business in September when Congress returns from its month-long recess. And if Samuel L. Jackson has had it with all those bleeping snakes on that bleeping plane, he should steer clear of Wyoming. Rattlesnakes are so common at the South Bighorn County Airport near Grable, airport staff have gotten used to them, although managers told Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines they might freak visitors out.
Really avid Wyoming pilot. Because of weather, last week he had to land at the airport in Grable, and they noticed on the hangar there's a warning saying, watch out for rattlesnakes. We've killed 2 in this hangar so far. And so I reached out to the manager of the airport and he said, yeah, that's just a Tuesday. That's also where that boneyard is, where all those old vintage planes are. He said, anybody who wants to go walk around that boneyard, the first thing he tells them is watch for the rattlesnakes.
So far, nobody's been bitten, and as a bonus, the rattlesnakes are credited for controlling mice and other vermin. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by clicking on the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel, or you can listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.